Hi folks, I'm Robert Ridgel, the project manager for the Chatham Bridge Rehabilitation project linking the City of Fredericksburg to Stafford County. We want to thank you for joining us tonight for our first ever YouTube public live stream event for Pardon Our Dust meetings. We're excited to provide this meeting to you to review this project and help answer any questions you may have about the project. As we go through this presentation, you may have questions that come up. You might ask, how will I ask these questions? If you use the live chat, as indicated by this arrow, you can write your questions out and our moderators will be happy to answer them for you as we go along. Any questions that come up after the presentation, I will try to address on screen if our moderators haven't already gotten to them. If you don't receive an answer to your question tonight, please don't fret. We are taking down your username in the chat log and we will get back to you either by private message or if you're not comfortable asking in the chat, you may proceed with the email addresses and information we'll give you later to reach out to our communications personnel to have your important questions answered as we go along through this. So without further ado, let's get started going over the project. Tonight, we're going to discuss the project need and why we're doing this, and why the hurry to get the Chatham Bridge project done at this point. Why did it get accelerated 9.5 months? We're going to cover a few of those details. We're going to talk about the benefits and improvements that you can expect to see on the bridge. We're going to talk about how it's going to affect the traveling public, including both motorists and pedestrians. We're going to talk about recreation on the Rappahannock River and how this might impact the recreational uses of the river. And then, because I'm a construction engineer, and let's be honest, I can't help myself, this is what I nerd out on a little bit, we're going to go into construction highlights, and then we'll continue to answer your questions after this presentation until we can stay on as late as 8 p.m. if you would like to continue answering questions if there are any by that time. So, to start out with, the Chatham Bridge is approximately 79 years old, carries 16,000 vehicles per day, has 4 lanes for the traveling public, and has 2 narrow 4-foot sidewalks in its existing condition. The bridge is currently considered structurally deficient, which means that it has a very high maintenance cost due to some raveling and other issues with the asphalt surface on the bridge and the deck. This has necessitated the need for an accelerated superstructure replacement. What is a superstructure, you might ask? The superstructure is the top of the bridge extending up from the beams that are underneath of it, up through the concrete deck and walls. We'll be replacing all of this with that project and doing some repairs to the underlying foundations of the bridge. This is an overview aerial of the project. You can see here that we'll have 4 lanes and we'll be adding a widened shared use path for pedestrian and recreational traffic. This shared use path will connect the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail System in Stafford County into the City of Fredericksburg, allowing safe, effective access for pedestrians and recreational users between the 2 locales. Additionally, you'll see that this project reaches from the William and Sophia Street intersection to the intersection of Kings Highway Route 3 and River Road. One thing our Stafford County users and users of the River Road might come to is notice that we have a pork chop island shown on that end of the plan. That pork chop island will limit access out of River Road at the completion of the project to a right-in, right-out only. During construction of the project, as we'll discuss later, River Road will not be able to make left turns as the Chatham Bridge will be closed, or will not be able to make right turns as the Chatham Bridge will be closed. Here you can see an example of the proposed bridge with an example from Danville, Virginia that VDOT constructed with a shared use path. Now, you may be seeing that metal rail over on the left-hand side. The Chatham Bridge will feature a concrete rail that matches the existing historic aesthetic of the bridge. So don't worry if that metal rail is troubling you. Here you can see an aerial model of the bridge consisting of the shared use path and the 4 travel lanes. This is another rendering of the proposed bridge that will looking into the Stafford County side. And here you can see a higher level aerial demonstrating the underlying substructure that will remain and the replaced superstructure. And here's our project schedule. So as many of you know, we have already completed the Dixon Street ramp improvements and installed some detour signage in the city of Fredericksburg. This work has been completed, and we thank you for your patience in helping us complete that so that we could expedite the beginning of this project. This will allow the contractor to immediately get to work on the bridge with only limited amounts of work left to do to get the detour underway. You'll notice that utility relocation has occurred over the last couple of months in the city of Fredericksburg, and we really want to reach out and thank the businesses and citizens who have been patient and worked with us as we've continued those utility relocations in the city. Those utility relocations are nearly complete, with the last of the fiber splicing work being completed by June 15th. In the interim, between now and then, roadway users in Sophia Street and George Street areas can expect to see some intermittent lane closures for fiber optic splicing crews that are still going to be accessing manholes to complete the splicing work. You'll notice that construction activity, our notice to proceed, is slated for May 28th of 2020. That notice to proceed at that point will not be the bridge closure. At this time, you're going to see crews beginning to construct the access road and the causeway on the river. What's a causeway, you might ask? A causeway is a stone roadway we're going to build across the Rappahannock River to allow access for cranes and construction equipment to help rebuild the bridge. This will be very similar to the structure that folks have seen up near the I-95 Rappahannock crossing, where a causeway is currently crossing the Rappahannock River. You'll note that the bridge is closing to traffic on June 2020, about middle of the month right now. As we learn of the exact date and finalize that, we will ensure that notice is released via multiple media outlets to the citizens and businesses of the City of Fredericksburg and Stafford County no later than 2 weeks before that closure, in as early a possible fashion as we can get it out. This closure will facilitate the beginning of the bridge demolition work. And then finally, after 16.5 months, which will come out to be early October of 2021, the bridge will reopen to traffic. The contractor's schedule has demonstrated that they will be looking to perform an accelerated demolition schedule of the Chatham Bridge so that they can facilitate faster construction and begin to get to work reaching that final incentive on the project, which again is in early October of 2021. The detours, as we've constructed them. So for folks coming into the city of Fredericksburg from points east of town, you will use Blue-Gray Parkway and come to Dixon Street ramps leading into the city of Fredericksburg. This is Route 2. This is where we've done ramp improvements to facilitate a right-hand turn into the city of Fredericksburg. Now, it's important to note that for this detour, we do not want traffic that's got a height over 13 feet 6 inches going down this route. This detour route is slated particularly for passenger car and light truck traffic. Larger vehicles over 13 feet 6 inches should proceed further down Blue-Gray Parkway to the William Street intersection and proceed into town. This is due to a height restriction within the city of Fredericksburg underlying the Virginia Railway Express and Amtrak rail tracks. Larger trucks will not be able to pass through the Dixon Street detour and will need to use William Street to access the city. Once in the city, those trucks can either exit on the two-way section of William Street or exit on Princess Anne, extending out to Route 1. Here you can see the Dixon Street ramp improvements completed. We built an extra left turn lane that's going to increase storage capacity and allow vehicles heading into the city of Fredericksburg to get to that free right turn heading into the city. This will facilitate more expedited traffic flow during the peak hours, permitting a better traffic and operations into the city of Fredericksburg. Here you can see Hanson Avenue and Route 1 traffic pattern changes at the Princess Anne Street and Route 1 intersection. Now, we have had a lot of questions here, and I want to emphasize that Route 1 traffic and movements other than left-hand turns onto Hanson Avenue will not be impacted. And in fact, travelers on Route 1 northbound and southbound should see some improvements, as we will be removing phases from the signal, including the through and left movement from Hanson Avenue to Princess Anne and Route 1 northbound respectively, and the left-hand turn from Route 1 northbound onto Hanson Avenue. Removing these two phases will facilitate expedited access for Princess Anne Street as well as through movements for Route 1. Now, You may be asking, well, what if I'm coming from Hanson Avenue and need to reach the city? Before you reach Route 1, you would make a left on Woodford Street and proceed to Riverside Drive, taking Riverside Drive under the Falmouth Bridge to Germania Street, looping back with a right on Princess Anne and coming back to Route 1. We refer to this as a jug handle operation. This will remove the Hanson Avenue traffic from the Princess Anne intersection while also facilitating easy access to Route 1. Hanson Avenue traffic can also divert to other intersections, including Fall Hill Avenue and other side streets leading to Route 1. In front of you now is a picture of the causeway. That's that stone road we're going to be building across the river to facilitate construction. You'll see that we have a gap in the causeway that will be in the main stem of the Rappahannock near the Stafford County side. This will consist of 2 open spans under the bridge to allow recreational traffic to continue pass by during construction. This will be phase 1, extending from June 2020 to approximately December of 2020 to facilitate some of the initial demolition work on the bridge. As we move into the phase 2 causeway, you'll see a small change where we remove the 1 span of causeway near the Stafford County side and move that over to the Fredericksburg City Causeway, making 1 contiguous causeway all across the side channel of the Rappahannock, Scotts Island, and 1 span and a little bit more into the main channel. It's important to note that the deepest part of the main channel between piers 6 and 8 will remain open during this phase. Now, some rules of the road for river users. River users need to respect the buoys that the contractor will be placing out there. We have a rough generic example of them here in this slide. Please follow the buoys through the work zone. Do not, by any means other than an emergency, use the causeway as a portage. Please do not approach the inlets to the pipes in the river. And in particular, these rules become extra important during high flow conditions, as additional currents and other hazardous elements can occur near the causeway during these conditions. So please be safe and follow the buoys through the work zone. We feel it necessary to note that there will be some short-term, by short-term I mean less than 24-hour, closures of the river to recreational access under the bridge. The reason for this will be because we're doing overhead demolition, overhead beam placement, or concrete forming work. These closures will be limited. I would expect that you would see this 4 or 5 times during the entirety of the construction project. As these closures come up, we will be coordinating with local organizations, including the Virginia Outdoor Center, River Rock Outfitters, Friends of the Rappahannock, and the Fredericksburg Trails Alliance, to ensure that recreational users have the information they need. Additionally, we'll be posting river status to the Chatham Bridge website into our social media pages to ensure that folks know exactly what's going on in the river when it comes time. Now, here's where I'm going to nerd out a little bit. Sorry, guys. So when this project gets started about May 28th, you're going to see the access road and causeway construction begin. You're going to see traffic signal modifications at Route 1 and Hanson Avenue, and you're going to see detour signage being placed throughout the city. I want to emphasize, when the detour signage begins to get placed throughout the city, we are sensitive to users that may have concerns about the aesthetic impacts or the access of recreational users and pedestrians into their businesses. We want to make sure that those folks are not impeded by our signage. As you see me and my crews going out, we will be out there picking the locations for these signs and ensuring that they are not in conflict with important commerce and economic needs within the city. To that end, if you see us out there and you have a concern, please feel free to approach us and let us know what your concerns are, and we will do our best to accommodate. You should see bridge deck demolition. This will be when we're getting exciting, because now you're going to start to see the bridge coming down in June to July of 2020. Now, the contractors submitted an accelerated demolition plan beyond what we originally expected. So this is how we're starting the closure a little bit later, but we're still intending to deliver the project on time. Starting in early August of 2020, you should begin to see steel beam demolition. Please pause for one moment. All right, folks. Sorry for that, and thank you for bearing with us. I apologize. We had a little bit of a connectivity issue on our side, but we should be back up now. So let's see, where were we? Yes. So steel beam demolition will start early August of 2020. We expect to see the top of river pier demolition and widening beginning in late August of 2020. This is how we will be facilitating the additional work we need to do to the superstructure. Shore foundations and supports will begin in late August of 2020, and foundation protection in the river will begin to be installed around this time frame as well. Starting in December of 2020, we will have the placement of new structural steel beginning, and then proceeding into spring of 2021, bridge deck forming and placement will begin. Bridge rail forming and placement will begin in summer of 2021. This is around the time that we will have a smooth bridge deck surface for you to begin riding on, and you'll see the bridge starting to come to life. Finally, in early October of 2021, bridge deck finishing, traffic elements, and new signs will be installed, and the bridge will open in October of 2021. Now, as we go through this, we're also hoping to mitigate some of the traffic impacts by working with online mapping providers, such as Waze, Google, Apple, and TomTom, and others. This will facilitate, as it has on other projects, such as our I-95 Rappahannock Crossing project, this will facilitate us moving traffic away from the closure area and reducing impacts to the detour overall by routing traffic directly to their destinations within the city. This technology is a major improvement to our ability to work with this detour and improve the overall functionality during the project. And lastly, we'd ask that you stay informed as we go along during this project. You can visit us at virginiadot.org/Chatham Bridge to get additional information on the project as we go along. We'll also have some interesting live construction cameras that you'll be able to see either live streams and time-lapse photography of the bridge project in progress. You can follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor. You'll also see tweets coming out from the field of some of the interesting activities that are occurring on the bridge so that you can be part of the construction activities. Do you need a Chatham Bridge speaker for a business, civic organization, club, or recreational activity that you might feel that you're impacted or need additional guidance for your employees or members? Please reach out to us. We can provide a speaker, whether myself or one of our communications experts, to come out and walk you through the impacts you may personally be experiencing on the project. On this slide, you'll also see the contact information for Kelly Hannon, our district communications manager. Please reach out to her with any issues you might have, and we will work in a timely fashion to get you the information that you need to minimize your impacts on this project. Now with that, I want to go ahead and proceed into our question and answer session. And unfortunately, during the break, when we had to fix some technical difficulties, I did lose some of the contact with my folks that were helping me with questions. But to that end, I'm going to proceed through the live stream and see if I can hit on a couple of the important topics here. One that we've been getting a lot is at the Sophia Street intersection, what impacts can people expect? And that's a very good question. So one of the things that we can expect to see at the Sophia Street intersection is that you will still be able to make a through movement on Sophia Street, i.e. traffic that is on Sophia Street will still be able to continue onward with their trip. Traffic coming off of William Street will still be able to make lefts and rights onto Sophia Street. What you will see is a concrete barrier set along the frontage of the Chatham Bridge at the intersection, extending from the Old Stone Warehouse site over towards the Gerald Properties location. So, needless to say, you will be able to access Sophia Street and continue traveling through this area of the city. Another question that we get is, how are we protecting the Old Stone Warehouse? The Old Stone Warehouse is receiving comprehensive vibration and dimensional monitoring to ensure that we have no impacts to the structure. The contractor has submitted a plan for this monitoring, and it has been approved and looks great. Looks just in line with the commitments we've made to the Department of Historical Resources to protect this building. Give me a moment while I look down and continue through the questions. So one of the questions we received is, will the causeway impede the flow of the river from Linda Farneth and cause any heightened water levels or affect water recreation? So as we talked about during the causeway presentation, the flow on the river should not be restricted, and traffic on the river should be able to continue to move through the open areas of the causeway. There will be some pipes to also continue to lower flows on the river. And one other thing to keep in mind is the causeway is built to a relatively low elevation that does allow the river to overtop it in the event of a storm situation. Now, while I wouldn't expect any recreational users to be out there, folks that may be concerned about flooding or some damming action caused by the causeway should rest easy knowing that the causeway will be overtopped long before any flooding would occur upstream. Let me see, continuing through the questions. From MKA Malin, and I apologize if I did not pronounce your username correctly. Will the new bridge be wider or have any safer pedestrian access? So early on in the presentation, we talked about the pedestrian access that we'll be adding to the bridge. This will consist of a widened shared use path that will be set off to the side of the bridge. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull that aerial shot back up for you so that you can see that access. So here you can see on screen that we have the 4 travel lanes, and we will have the pedestrian shared use path on the side of the bridge, along with a scenic overlook looking over the Rappahannock. This will allow for safe and efficient access for recreational users and pedestrians using the bridge. From Theron P. Keller, during construction, will River Road traffic be able to turn left onto Route 3 and away from the bridge construction? They note that this turn is very important to relieve pressure on the Falmouth Bridge on Route 1. Thank you very much for your question. During the construction, River Road traffic will indeed be able to turn left onto Route 3 and continue to their destination. At the end of the project, it is important to note that River Road will become a right-in, right-out only at the end of the project. This means that traffic coming off of River Road will have to make a right-hand turn into the city of Fredericksburg following the completion of this project. Again, however, during construction and during the detour, River Road will be left turns only onto Route 3 Kings Highway. At this time, I don't see any other questions coming up in the live stream. I'm going to wait just a moment to see if we get any more. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel Allen asks, will the pedestrian and bike path be tied to the bike path on Cool Springs? So I'll have to look into this a little bit more, Rachel. At this time, I believe we are doing some improvements right along the side of Route 3 that are going to permit a pedestrian crossing, not all the way to Cool Springs at this time, but at Chatham Heights Road. I do know there are some future projects slated for the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail, and I know some of that is in the works about what pedestrian access will look like in that area extending over towards the Ferry Farm area. Linda Farneth asks, has this project remained within budget? Yes, this project has at this time remained in budget, which is one of the reasons that we've continued with this accelerated path, as having the bridge closed for the 16.5 months versus a phased longer construction schedule had major budgetary implications to this job. So I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you. And thank you very much for the compliments. Do we have any other questions out there? And one other that, unfortunately, I just realized I missed when we had our little technical snafu. I would like to go over, some people have asked, what can you expect from noise that might be caused by the construction? One thing that I want to go over real quick is that folks in the city should breathe a sigh of relief as we are not driving piles for any of the operations for this bridge, particularly at the city abutment. Driving piles tends to be one of the noisiest parts of bridge construction and is generally the part where a lot of noise complaints will come in. On this project, we're not doing that. We're using drilled micro piles that should assist in some of the noise concerns that you might otherwise have. Additionally, the only noises that you should really expect are some jackhammering, some loud diesel engines, And during the demolition phase, you may hear some concrete breaking going on out there. But generally, the noise will be lower than if we were using a driven pile system for the foundations on this job. Additionally, Theron P. Keller asked about the 9.5-month acceleration. So during the development of this project, as additional maintenance concerns came up on the bridge, and we've noticed additional deterioration of the bridge riding surface, we accelerated development of this project so that we could avoid having to do costly maintenance work on the surface of a bridge that was proceeding to demolition. Instead, we wanted to proceed with getting a much newer, better riding, and safer superstructure onto this crossing as fast as possible. So at that time, district leadership, as well as VDOT leadership, made the decision to move forward with this project with an accelerated development schedule. And I'd really like to thank our preliminary engineering development team for all their hard work in accomplishing that. I know it hasn't been easy working with us to get this accelerated construction done, but here we are, and I'm hoping to deliver this bridge on time. MKA Mellon asked again, will you have a camera to watch construction? Yes, we will have a live camera on site that you can view. This may be time-lapse photography depending on our connection in the area, but you will be able to tune in to our website. Again, that's virginiadot.org/Chatham Bridge, and you'll be able to see those live cameras. Additionally, we'll also be posting them to social media if you follow us there. Thank you all very much for your compliments. This is our first time doing this. I really do apologize for the technical difficulties, and thank you for bearing with us. All right. Well, if I don't have any other questions, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Again, if you do still have any questions, these slides and this presentation will still be available here on this streaming channel and will be available on virginiadot.org/Chatham Bridge. You can go to those locations and get the contact information for our communications folks that will be happy to answer your questions or even forward them to me so that I can call you and give you a response. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.